So, members of Citizens Against Government Entrapment who have started this channel and who have maintained it mostly through my efforts, but with the advice and counsel of people all over the country who have relatives who have been entrapped, they have been entrapped, or they have a loved one in their community who has been entrapped, all report the same thing, and I've talked about that. These are people that would never have met, except that we have the common interest in calling attention to the fact that many of us were entirely innocent, and we were put in a position where not one time did we say that we're interested in children, and yet nevertheless we have caught charges claiming that we were interested in sexual exploitation of children. And what's remarkable, the reason we started How Old Is He or She, is to call attention to one sliver, one little aspect of that that people ask us about all the time, which is, well, you were told the age, why didn't you stop talking? And of course, it assumes the police narrative that we're talking about sex. It also assumes that everything couldn't possibly be confusing. And when you're told that you're talking to an adult, and all of a sudden they switch to a child, that is confusing in a platform where you're already talking smack, you're talking role play, there's fetishism involved, and everybody who comes to this comes with a slightly different story, but the main parts of the story are still the same. And again, if you want to just get on my channel and stuff and start calling us names and stuff, you know, fine. We've more than pushed back on that, but it's not productive. Okay. Ask some really good questions. This is a really good question. Why didn't you desist? Well, because in a place where you're role playing, in the place where you're talking smack, in the place where, a lot of people were high or hungover or lonely, they were looking for an escort or something like that. In my case, like I said, I wasn't looking for any of those, but I saw a child that was endangered, and I leveraged what I knew about child endangerment and human trafficking to try to help this individual. Regardless of how you come to the place that we are right now, you run into pictures like this that cause a great deal of confusion. And for the people who say still, well, I wouldn't be confused. I'd figure this out. And if I didn't figure this out, I would definitely know that this was some kind of entrapment. I would leave right like that. Well, I call your bullshit on that because most people wouldn't. Most people wouldn't when you're found in a shocking position. You what? Wait a minute. For 200 messages, you said you were 26, and now you're saying you're 16. And then when you're told, as we have been told, some of us, that was a typo, you tend to believe it, and the police still get the conviction. Like I said, you can be having no sexual talk like I had and no evidence that you sent a picture, and you can still be arrested and destroyed. And yet there's no interest seemingly in the police doing that at all. There's no questioning of that. Well, this is one of the tactics, and hopefully that you will see some of the things that we get to see out there. So I'm going to show you a picture from an escort site, and this is a little bit busy. If you look on the edges of it, I don't know if it's going to show up very much in front of my camera, but this is a young police officer who has put her hair in a certain way and put on a little bit of makeup and put a pleasant little smile on to indicate that she could be, and I will tell you right now, could be anywhere between 17 and 25. But of course, some people look younger. And so they will tell you an age and you tend to believe it. How many of you go out on a date and card the person? Almost nobody does that. You accept what people say, you compliment them on how young they look, and you move on. Okay. And you understand that if they've deceived you, you can say, well, I had it on good authority. You told me something else, you deceived me. Okay. But what's happening here is you are getting in trouble right from the point where you don't immediately desist, you don't immediately block. Okay, and people just don't act like that. There's a wide variety of experience. Now, I will hear from trolls too. I've heard this a lot. Well, you've seen the Chris Hansen stuff. You've seen all the To Catch a Predator stuff. You've heard about vigilantes. You know cops are doing these things. Well, you should have known that this was one of those things. You've heard about practical jokes, right? And yet you've still been a victim of practical jokes, right? You've heard about crime, but you've still been a victim of crime every so often, right? So it just doesn't hold water what some of these folks are saying. So again, take a look at this picture and see if this is somebody you clearly would have gone out there. Again, we don't have anything where somebody says, "Hey, I'm on this adult dating site looking for a child," because then, of course, they should nail you right away. But that's not what's happening. Why are the police doing a bait and switch? That's a question that you should be asking as well as these other questions. So here's the picture, and see if you can clearly see that this has to be underage. There's no other possibilities. Here you go. Here's the picture. Beautiful young lady here, police officer. All right. How old is she? My own guess is she's anywhere based on my 30 years plus in the classroom. She could pass anywhere, possibly 16. I wager she's 17 to 25. If I were to take a guess, and I didn't know and I wasn't told what she was, okay? Because that's the critical part. You were deceived deliberately so that you would continue to talk to the person. They could assure you that everything was fine and that it was a typo or a little mistake here or there, or we're just talking smack. And you go to meet the person, not necessarily to have sex, but to say, as several people have said, I'm going to find out face to face that you're full of crap, and then you get arrested before you've ever said anything or made any intent to do anything. Okay. And again, you can argue about all the process and what people went through, but again, you are being arrested because you supposedly were a danger to children. Not talking smack on a dating site, not with the bait and switch. You were a clear and present danger to children. That's why they claim they arrested you. And that just doesn't hold water. Let me know what you think in the comments. This is Norman Michaelation, episode 5, I think it is. I'll have to look it up for ICAC Unpacked, the episode How Old Is He or She? Have a good day.